Hello and welcome back to the Sleepyhead Geographer. Tonight, we're embarking on a peaceful journey into one of Earth's most magnificent and ancient sanctuaries, the towering realm of the coast redwood forests. Before we begin, let's take a moment to settle in. Find your most comfortable position, whether you're nestled in your bed or curled up in your favorite chair. Take a slow, deep breath and release all the tensions of your day. Feel your shoulders drop, let your muscles soften, and allow your mind to begin quieting as we prepare for tonight's restful adventure. We're about to wander together through misty groves where time moves differently, where ancient giants have stood for over 2,000 years, and where every breath of fog-kissed air carries stories from the age of dinosaurs. We'll discover how these remarkable forests came to be, from their origins 200 million years ago to the intricate ecosystem that thrives today among the tallest trees on Earth. Let's travel back in time together, far beyond human memory, to understand why these magnificent forests deserve our wonder tonight. We need to journey to this distant past because the story of today's redwoods begins in an almost unimaginable world, a world where continents drift like slow-moving puzzle pieces across the planet's surface, and where the climate holds the key to understanding these gentle giants. Imagine, if you will, stepping back 200 million years into the Jurassic period. The earth beneath our feet pulses with volcanic activity, and the air is thick and humid, carrying the scent of primeval forests. This is a world where massive dinosaurs lumber through lush landscapes, where flowering plants have yet to bloom, and where the ancestors of our beloved redwoods first begin their remarkable journey through time. In this ancient world, the climate was dramatically different from today. There were no polar ice caps gleaming white at the planet's end. Instead, warm, moist air circulated freely from the equator to what would someday become the Arctic Circle. Palm trees swayed in gentle breezes near the North Pole, and giant ferns unfurled their fronds in steamy swamps that stretched across vast continents. The atmospheric carbon dioxide levels were much higher than today, creating a natural greenhouse effect that kept the entire planet wrapped in warm, humid conditions perfect for plant growth. It was in this greenhouse world that the first members of the redwood family, the Cupressaceae, began to evolve. These early trees weren't quite the giants we know today, but they carried within their genetic code the blueprint for something extraordinary. They developed characteristics that would serve them well through millions of years of environmental change. Thick, fibrous bark that could resist fire and disease, specialized leaves that could capture moisture from the air, and most importantly, the ability to grow to enormous heights while maintaining structural integrity. One of the most remarkable discoveries in paleobotany tells us about Metasequoia, the dawn redwood, which has remained virtually unchanged for 150 million years. Fossilized specimens of Metasequoia found in rocks from the Cretaceous period look almost identical to the living dawn redwoods we can see today in their native China. This extraordinary evolutionary stability speaks to a design so perfect, so well adapted to capturing light and moisture, that nature has seen no need to improve upon it across geological ages. During the Jurassic period, these early redwoods shared their world with some of the most magnificent creatures ever to walk the earth. Long-necked sauropods reached up to browse on the highest branches, their massive feet creating pathways through the forest floor that would channel rainwater and nutrients. Smaller dinosaurs darted between the massive trunks, and pterosaurs soared overhead through the humid air. The redwoods provided shelter and stability in this dynamic ecosystem, their deep roots helping to prevent erosion even as the continent slowly shifted beneath them. The fossil record reveals that these ancient forests were incredibly diverse. Alongside the early redwoods grew giant cycads with thick, palm-like leaves, towering conifers that would give rise to today's pines and firs, and massive tree ferns that created dense understories. The forest floor was carpeted with layers of decomposing plant matter, creating rich soils that would nourish countless generations of trees to come. As we drift deeper into this ancient world, we can almost hear the sounds that would have filled these primordial forests. There was no birdsong yet, as flowering plants and the insects that pollinate them had not yet evolved to support diverse bird populations. Instead, the soundscape would have been dominated by the rustle of enormous leaves in warm breezes, the distant calls of dinosaurs, and the constant drip of moisture from the humid air, condensing on branches and falling like gentle rain to the forest floor. The chemistry of these ancient redwoods was already remarkable. They had evolved the ability to produce tannins and other compounds in their bark and heartwood that made them resistant to insects and bacterial decay. This natural preservation system allowed fallen redwood logs to persist for centuries, slowly releasing nutrients back into the ecosystem and providing habitat for countless smaller organisms. Perhaps most fascinating of all, these early redwoods had already begun to develop their unique relationship with water. Even 200 million years ago, they were learning to harvest moisture directly from the air through specialized structures on their leaves. This adaptation would prove crucial in the millions of years to come, as climate changes would challenge their survival and eventually lead them to the foggy coasts where they thrive today. The root systems of these ancient giants were already developing the shallow, wide-spreading network that modern redwoods use to anchor themselves and share resources. Fossilized root systems show that even 200 million years ago, redwoods were forming connected underground networks, sharing nutrients and water through their intertwined roots, and forming partnerships with beneficial fungi that extended their reach even further into the soil. As the Jurassic period gradually gave way to the Cretaceous, these early redwoods faced their first major evolutionary test. The climate began to change, becoming even warmer and more humid, and new types of plants began to appear. Flowering plants, or angiosperms, started to diversify rapidly, creating new competition for light and nutrients. But the redwoods had already established themselves as masters of reaching toward the sky, and their ability to grow taller than almost any other tree ensured their continued success. The continents during this time were still moving, still rearranging themselves into new configurations. What would become North America was slowly separating from Europe, and the Atlantic Ocean was widening year by year. But the redwoods were already widespread across the northern continents, their seeds traveling on ancient winds and their ranges expanding wherever conditions were suitable. As we rest in this ancient world, surrounded by the gentle giants of deep time, we can begin to appreciate the incredible journey that led to today's coastal redwood forests. These trees carry within their cells the memories of 200 million years of adaptation, survival, and growth. They have witnessed the rise and fall of the dinosaurs, the emergence of flowering plants, and the gradual cooling of the global climate that would eventually drive them to seek refuge in the foggy embrace of the Pacific coast. The seeds of time had been planted, and the stage was set for one of the most remarkable migration stories in the natural world. As we continue our peaceful journey through time, let's follow the redwoods forward into the Cretaceous period, about 145 million years ago, when these magnificent trees began one of the most extraordinary migrations in botanical history. To understand why this great spreading matters for tonight's story, we need to see how these ancient travelers explored the world before finding their perfect home on our Pacific shores. The Cretaceous period brought with it an age of unprecedented expansion for the Redwood family. The global climate had become even warmer and more stable than during the Jurassic, creating ideal conditions for large trees to flourish across vast distances. Sea levels rose dramatically, creating shallow seas that helped distribute moisture more evenly across the continents, and there were virtually no polar ice caps to interrupt the flow of warm, humid air around the globe. During this golden age of redwood expansion, these remarkable trees began to spread across the entire northern hemisphere. Imagine vast redwood forests stretching from what would someday become Alaska all the way across to Greenland, and then continuing eastward through Siberia, across northern Europe, and even into parts of what we now know as China and Japan. This was a time when redwoods were truly cosmopolitan, when their distinctive silhouettes could be seen against the sky on nearly every northern continent. Fossilized redwood cones, branches, and trunk sections have been discovered in places that seem almost impossible to us today. On the remote islands of Svalbard, high in the Arctic Ocean, paleobotanists have uncovered perfectly preserved redwood fossils that tell us these giants once thrived in regions that are now locked in permafrost. In Greenland, beneath layers of ice and volcanic rock, lie the remains of redwood forests that grew when that land was green and temperate. The European redwood forests of the Cretaceous were particularly magnificent. Evidence suggests that ancestors of our coast redwoods grew in dense groves across what is now Germany, France, and even parts of the British Isles. These ancient European redwoods shared their forests with early ancestors of modern oaks, maples, and magnolias, creating diverse ecosystems that supported an incredible array of plant and animal life. But perhaps most remarkable of all were the Asian redwood forests. In regions of Siberia and northern China, massive groves of dawn redwoods, coast redwood relatives, and giant sequoias created some of the most productive forest ecosystems Earth has ever known. The fossil record shows that these Asian forests were home to early flowering plants, primitive mammals, and birds that were just beginning to diversify in the wake of the dinosaurs' decline. The success of redwoods during this global expansion can be attributed to several remarkable adaptations that had been perfecting themselves over millions of years. Their ability to grow extremely tall allowed them to capture sunlight even in dense forests, while their efficient water transport systems could move moisture from roots to crown across distances of 200 feet or more. Their bark had evolved to become increasingly thick and fire-resistant, protecting them from the lightning-sparked wildfires that were common in the warm, dry summers of the Cretaceous. During this time, redwoods also perfected their unique reproductive strategy. Unlike many other conifers that produce seeds only every few years, redwoods learned to produce viable seeds annually, sometimes even twice per year when conditions were favorable. Their small, lightweight seeds could travel remarkable distances on the wind, allowing them to colonize new territories quickly whenever suitable habitat appeared. The wood of these ancient redwoods was already displaying the qualities that make modern redwood lumber so valuable. The straight grain, natural resistance to decay, and beautiful reddish coloration were all present in these Cretaceous giants. Fossilized redwood wood from this period shows the same cellular structure and resin distribution that gives modern redwoods their distinctive appearance and durability. As the Cretaceous period continued, redwoods began to face new challenges that would test their adaptability. The rise of flowering plants created increased competition for pollinators and growing space, while climatic fluctuations began to introduce cooler, drier periods that stressed the warm, adapted redwood forests. Some redwood species responded by developing more efficient water conservation strategies, while others began to specialize in capturing moisture directly from fog and low-hanging clouds. The asteroid impact that ended the Cretaceous period 66 million years ago marked a turning point for redwood distribution. While these hardy trees survived the global catastrophe better than many species, the subsequent climate changes began to fragment their once continuous forests. Cooler temperatures and changing precipitation patterns started to push redwoods out of some of their former ranges, beginning a long, slow retreat toward more favorable climates. During the Paleocene and Eocene epochs that followed, redwoods continued to occupy vast ranges across the northern hemisphere, but their distribution began to show the first signs of the fragmentation that would eventually isolate different species in distant refugia. The dawn redwoods began to concentrate in Asia, while the ancestors of giant sequoias found their niche in the interior mountains of western North America. Our coast redwoods began their long journey toward the Pacific shores. The cooling trend that began in the Eocene accelerated during the Oligocene and Miocene epochs. As global temperatures dropped and ice began to form at the poles once again, redwood forests started to disappear from their northernmost ranges. The European redwood forests gradually retreated southward and eventually vanished entirely, leaving behind only their fossilized remains as evidence of their former grandeur. In North America, the great redwood forests that had once stretched from coast to coast began to concentrate in the western regions, where the developing Rocky Mountains created rain shadows and new climate patterns. The emerging Pacific coast began to develop the unique weather patterns that would eventually make it the perfect home for coast redwoods, as the interaction between ocean currents and coastal mountains created the fog-rich environment these trees would learn to love. The Asian redwood forests faced similar pressures, gradually retreating to smaller and smaller refugia as the climate continued to cool and dry. The dawn redwoods, once widespread across northern Asia, slowly concentrated in a small region of central China, where they would survive in hidden valleys until their rediscovery by botanists in the 1940s. As we drift through this age of great migration and gradual retreat, we can sense the resilience and adaptability that would allow redwoods to survive the challenges ahead. These trees had learned to thrive in many different environments, to capture moisture from various sources, and to form partnerships with other species that would support them through difficult times. The journey to the Pacific coast, where unique climate conditions would allow these ancient giants to not only survive, but to achieve their greatest heights. The coast redwoods were about to discover their true home, a narrow strip of land where ocean fog would provide them with the moisture they needed to become the tallest trees on Earth. Now let's drift gently forward to discover how our coastal redwoods found their perfect home and became masters of one of nature's most enchanting phenomena. To truly appreciate the peaceful world we're entering tonight, we need to understand how these gentle giants learned to dance with the mist and thrive in the embrace of Pacific fog. As the great ice ages began to reshape the world's climate, the ancestors of our coast redwoods found themselves gradually pushed toward the western edges of North America. Here, along what would become the California and Oregon coasts, a unique set of conditions was developing that would prove to be exactly what these ancient trees needed to not only survive, but to achieve their most magnificent expression. The Pacific Ocean, vast and deep, began to play a crucial role in creating the perfect redwood habitat. Cold currents flowing south from Alaska met the warming waters of the California current, creating a complex system of ocean temperatures that would profoundly influence the coastal climate. During the summer months, when inland areas baked under intense sunshine and high-pressure systems, the ocean remained cool and stable, creating the foundation for one of nature's most reliable weather phenomena, coastal fog. Let's imagine ourselves standing on the shore of this ancient coastline as the fog begins to form. In the early morning hours, the warm air over the land meets the cool, moisture-laden air above the ocean. As the warm air rises, it cools and condenses, creating vast banks of fog that roll inland like gentle gray waves. This fog is not just water vapor, it's a living system that carries nutrients from the ocean, microscopic organisms, and the perfect balance of moisture that redwoods have learned to harvest directly from the air. The coast redwoods developed an extraordinary relationship with this fog that goes far beyond what most people imagine. Scientific research has revealed that these remarkable trees obtain up to 2/3 of their annual water needs directly from fog, not from their roots. This adaptation allows them to thrive in the Mediterranean climate of coastal California, where summers are typically dry and rainfall is concentrated in the winter months. The secret lies in the redwood's specialized foliage. Each needle is covered with microscopic structures that act like tiny water collectors. When fog droplets touch these needles, they don't simply roll off as they would on most plants. Instead, the needle's surface tension and specialized coating cause the water droplets to coalesce into larger drops that can be absorbed directly through the leaf surface or channeled down branches and trunk to the root system below. This process, called foliar uptake, is so efficient that redwoods can actually reverse their normal sap flow during foggy conditions. Instead of drawing water up from their roots to their leaves, they can absorb moisture through their foliage and transport it downward to their root systems, effectively irrigating themselves from above. This remarkable adaptation allows them to remain hydrated and continue photosynthesis even during the driest summer months. But the fog provides more than just water. As it moves through the forest, it creates a cool, humid microclimate that dramatically reduces the rate of water loss from the tree's leaves and soil. On a typical summer day in the inland valleys of California, temperatures might soar above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, while in the fog-shrouded redwood groves, temperatures remain a comfortable 60 to 70 degrees. This natural air conditioning system allows the redwoods to maintain their metabolism and continue growing throughout the summer drought. The timing of the fog is perfectly synchronized with the redwood's needs. During the winter months, when Pacific storms bring abundant rainfall to the coast, the fog is less frequent and less dense. The trees rely primarily on their root systems to absorb water from the rain-soaked soil. But as spring transitions to summer and the rainfall diminishes, the fog becomes more consistent and reliable, providing the moisture the trees need just when they need it most. This fog harvesting ability has allowed coast redwoods to achieve extraordinary heights. Without the need to pump all their water from increasingly distant roots, they can invest their energy in growing taller and taller, reaching toward the light above the forest canopy. The tallest known redwood, a tree named Hyperion, reaches 380 feet into the sky, and scientists believe that the fog harvesting adaptation is one of the key factors that make such extreme height possible. The fog also carries nutrients from the ocean that benefit the entire redwood ecosystem. As fog droplets form over the Pacific, they incorporate tiny particles of salt, organic compounds from marine organisms, and other trace elements. When this fog is captured by the redwood forest, it delivers these nutrients directly to the trees and the forest floor, creating a unique form of aerial fertilization that supplements the nutrients available in the typically acidic redwood soils. The interaction between redwoods and fog creates its own weather patterns within the forest. As the morning fog moves through the groves, it encounters the massive trunks and dense canopy of the redwoods, which act like giant fog combs, stripping moisture from the air and creating their own localized precipitation. This fog drip can add the equivalent of 10 to 20 inches of rainfall per year to areas that receive it, creating lush microclimates that support an incredible diversity of plants and animals. During the peak fog season, from June through September, the redwood forests become ethereal, almost otherworldly places. Shafts of sunlight pierce through the mist, creating cathedral-like columns of golden light that shift and dance as the fog moves through the trees. The air becomes thick with moisture, and the scent of rich earth, decomposing leaves, and the distinctive sweet fragrance of redwood bark and foliage. The fog also plays a crucial role in seed dispersal and forest regeneration. Young redwood seedlings are particularly dependent on the consistent moisture provided by fog, as their shallow root systems haven't yet developed the ability to reach deeper groundwater. The fog allows these seedlings to establish themselves in the forest understory, where direct rainfall might not penetrate the dense canopy above. The seasonal rhythm of fog creates a natural calendar that influences all life in the redwood forest. Many plants and animals have adapted their life cycles to take advantage of the fog season, timing their reproduction, growth, and other activities to coincide with periods of maximum moisture availability. Some plants, like the coast redwood sorrel that carpets the forest floor, actually go dormant during the dry season and come back to life when the fog returns. Modern climate research has revealed that the fog patterns along the California coast are changing as global temperatures rise. Warmer ocean temperatures and shifting wind patterns are reducing the frequency and density of coastal fog in some areas, creating new challenges for the redwood ecosystem. However, the tree's remarkable adaptability, honed over millions of years of climate change, gives scientists hope that they will be able to adjust to these new conditions. The fog-redwood relationship represents one of nature's most elegant solutions to the challenge of surviving in a Mediterranean climate. By learning to harvest moisture directly from the air, coast redwoods have been able to achieve sizes and longevity that would be impossible in most other environments. As we rest in the cool, moist embrace of a fog-shrouded redwood grove, we can appreciate the intricate dance between ocean, atmosphere, and forest that creates one of Earth's most peaceful and restorative environments. This mastery of mist has allowed redwoods to create vertical worlds of incredible complexity, where entire ecosystems thrive hundreds of feet above the ground, supported by the moisture and nutrients that the trees capture from the fog. Let's now ascend gently into one of the most remarkable and peaceful realms on Earth, the canopy world of the coast redwoods, where entire ecosystems thrive hundreds of feet above the forest floor in gardens suspended in the sky. To fully appreciate this vertical paradise, we need to understand how these aerial communities came to be and why they represent some of the most complex and beautiful relationships in the natural world. Imagine slowly rising through the layers of a mature redwood forest, leaving behind the fern-carpeted floor and ascending past the middle story where tan oak and huckleberry create a verdant understory. As we climb higher, we enter a realm that few humans have ever seen, a world where massive redwood branches, some as large as the trunks of normal trees, stretch out like the arms of gentle giants, supporting entire ecosystems in their embrace. The creation of these aerial worlds begins with the unique architecture of mature redwoods. Unlike most coniferous trees, which maintain a classic Christmas tree shape throughout their lives, old-growth redwoods develop flat-topped crowns with massive horizontal branches that can extend 20 to 30 feet from the trunk. These branches, some measuring 6 feet in diameter, become the foundation for one of nature's most extraordinary vertical ecosystems. Over decades and centuries, these horizontal branches begin to collect organic matter carried by wind and rain. Needles, twigs, bark, and other debris gradually accumulate in the crotches where branches meet the trunk, and in the slight depressions on the upper surfaces of large limbs. This organic matter, mixed with dust, pollen, and the nutrient-rich particles carried in coastal fog, slowly decomposes to form what scientists call canopy soil, a rich, dark substrate that can accumulate to depths of several feet. These soil mats, perched hundreds of feet above the ground, become the foundation for entire aerial gardens. The soil retains moisture from fog and occasional rainfall, creating conditions suitable for a remarkable variety of plants to take root and thrive in the treetops. Ferns are among the first colonizers, their spores carried on air currents to these elevated growing sites. Sword ferns, lady ferns, and delicate maidenhair ferns create lush carpets of green that transform massive redwood branches into hanging gardens. But the plant life in the canopy extends far beyond ferns. Huckleberry shrubs send out runners that eventually establish new plants on neighboring branches, creating aerial thickets where birds can nest and feed. Salmonberry canes climb up through the canopy structure, producing their orange berries hundreds of feet above the ground. Even small trees sometimes establish themselves in the canopy soil, creating the remarkable sight of trees growing on trees. The moisture regime in the redwood canopy is unlike anywhere else on Earth. During the fog season, the upper branches are often shrouded in cool, humid air for hours each day. This fog provides direct moisture to the canopy plants and maintains the soil mats in a consistently damp condition. When fog condenses on the redwood needles and branches, it drips steadily downward, creating a gentle rainfall within the forest that waters both canopy and floor plants. This aerial ecosystem supports an incredible diversity of animal life that has adapted to live in the sky. The most famous of these canopy dwellers is the marbled murrelet, a small seabird that has the remarkable distinction of being the only seabird in North America that nests in trees. These dove-sized birds fly inland from the Pacific Ocean each evening during breeding season, navigating through the fog to reach their nest sites on the broad branches of old-growth redwoods. The marbled murrelet's relationship with the redwood canopy is one of the most touching examples of adaptation in the natural world. After spending their days fishing in the ocean, these birds return to nest sites that may be the same branches used by their parents and grandparents. The female lays a single egg on the soft moss and lichen covering a large branch, and both parents take turns incubating the egg and caring for the chick. The young murrelets must make an incredible leap of faith when they fledge, launching themselves from their sky-high nest sites on their first flight to the ocean. Salamanders represent another remarkable adaptation to canopy life. Wandering salamanders, which are found nowhere else in the world except in the redwood canopy, have completely abandoned their ancestral connection to water. These small amphibians live their entire lives in the humid canopy environment, breathing through their skin and absorbing moisture directly from the fog-dampened air. They hunt for tiny insects and spiders among the branches and reproduce without ever needing standing water. The canopy also supports a diverse community of invertebrates that form the foundation of the aerial food web. Specialized beetles, spiders, and millipedes have evolved to live in the canopy soil mats, while countless species of mites, springtails, and other tiny arthropods process organic matter and recycle nutrients in this elevated ecosystem. Many of these species are found nowhere else on Earth, having evolved specifically to take advantage of the unique conditions in the redwood canopy. Flying squirrels glide between the massive trunks and branches, using the complex three-dimensional structure of the canopy as their highway system. These nocturnal acrobats can glide for distances of over 100 feet, using the skin membranes stretched between their legs to control their flight path as they move between feeding and nesting sites in the canopy. They feed on the fungi, lichens, and occasional fruits found in the treetops, and their droppings help fertilize the canopy soil mats. The redwood canopy also provides crucial habitat for many species of birds that depend on old-growth forest conditions. Steller's jays, with their brilliant blue plumage and raucous calls, build their nests on the large branches and forage for insects and seeds throughout the canopy structure. Varied thrushes, with their haunting flute-like calls, find the insects and berries they need among the branches and in the canopy gardens. Perhaps most remarkable of all is the discovery that some canopy soil mats contain their own small streams and pools. These aerial water features are fed by fog drip and occasional rainfall, and they support aquatic invertebrates, including tiny crustaceans and insect larvae. The existence of functioning aquatic ecosystems hundreds of feet above the ground represents one of the most extraordinary examples of ecological complexity ever discovered. The interconnections within the canopy ecosystem are incredibly complex. Mycorrhizal fungi form networks that connect the root systems of canopy plants with each other and with the host redwood tree. These fungal partnerships allow for the sharing of nutrients, water, and even chemical communications between plants. The canopy soil itself becomes a living system with its own water cycle, nutrient cycling, and complex food webs. Research has revealed that the canopy soil mats can contain their own weather patterns. Temperature and humidity can vary significantly between different levels and locations within a single tree's crown, creating a patchwork of microclimates that support different plant and animal communities. Some areas may remain cool and moist throughout the day, while others experience more variation in temperature and moisture levels. The longevity of individual redwood trees means that these canopy ecosystems can develop and mature over centuries. Some soil mats in old-growth redwoods are estimated to be 200 to 400 years old, representing the accumulated organic matter from decades of growth and decay in the treetops. These ancient aerial soils support plant communities that have had centuries to establish complex relationships and achieve a remarkable degree of stability and diversity. The seasonal cycles in the canopy follow the rhythms of fog and rainfall that characterize the coastal climate. During the winter months, when storms bring heavy rains to the forest, the canopy soil mats become saturated, and streams and waterfalls cascade from branch to branch. In the drier summer months, the fog becomes the primary source of moisture, maintaining the canopy gardens through the Mediterranean drought. As we rest in this vertical paradise, surrounded by the gentle sounds of water dripping from leaf to leaf and the soft rustle of wind through the elevated gardens, we can appreciate the incredible complexity and beauty of these sky-high ecosystems. The redwood canopy represents one of nature's most successful experiments in vertical living, where an entire world of plants and animals has learned to thrive in the embrace of ancient giants. This aerial realm reminds us that nature's creativity knows no bounds and sounds, and that even in the sky, life finds ways to flourish and create communities of remarkable beauty and resilience. Now let's descend gently back to Earth and explore the hidden world beneath our feet, where an intricate network of roots and fungal partnerships creates one of nature's most sophisticated communication and support systems. To understand the peaceful strength of the redwood forest, we must journey underground to discover the secret connections that bind these gentle giants together in an embrace more intimate than what we see above ground. Beneath the soft carpet of ferns and fallen needles that cushions the redwood forest floor lies a world of remarkable complexity and cooperation. Unlike the deep taproot systems that anchor many other tree species, coast redwoods have evolved a surprisingly shallow root system that rarely extends deeper than 6 to 10 feet into the earth. This might seem like a precarious foundation for trees that can reach heights of over 350 feet, but the redwoods have developed an ingenious solution to the challenge of staying upright in their towering glory. The secret lies not in depth, but in breadth and interconnection. A mature redwood's root system extends outward from the trunk in all directions, creating a massive underground network that can reach 50 to 100 feet from the base of the tree. These roots, some as thick as telephone poles near the trunk and gradually tapering to hair-thin rootlets at their extremities, spread out just beneath the surface, where they can capture the maximum benefit from rainfall, fog drip, and the rich nutrients found in the forest's organic soil layers. But what makes this root system truly extraordinary is how individual trees' roots interweave and interlock with those of their neighbors. In a mature redwood grove, the underground landscape resembles a vast, living carpet where the roots of different trees become so intertwined that it's often impossible to tell where one tree's root system ends and another's begins. This interconnection creates what botanists call a root mat, a unified foundation that provides stability and support to entire groves of trees. Imagine, if you will, gently excavating a small section of this root mat and discovering the intricate braided pattern of roots from dozens of different trees, all woven together in a network that has been developing for centuries. Some roots grow over others, some grow under, and many actually fuse together at points of contact, creating living bridges that allow trees to share structural support, nutrients, and even water during times of need. This root interconnection system provides remarkable stability to redwood forests. When Pacific storms bring hurricane-force winds that can topple other forest giants, mature redwood groves often emerge unscathed because the trees support each other through their underground connections. The force of wind on any individual tree is distributed through the root mat to neighboring trees, creating a mutual support system that allows these giants to weather storms that would destroy isolated trees. But the root system serves functions far beyond structural support. The shallow, wide-spreading network is perfectly positioned to capture the fog drip that falls from the canopy above. As fog condenses on redwood needles and branches, it drips steadily to the forest floor, where the extensive root system can immediately absorb this precious moisture. This efficient capture system allows redwoods to benefit from every drop of fog water that falls, creating their own localized water cycle that sustains them through the dry summer months. The soil in redwood forests is itself a living system of remarkable complexity. The constant rain of needles, twigs, and bark from the towering trees above creates deep layers of organic matter that decompose slowly in the cool, humid conditions of the forest floor. This decomposition process is facilitated by an incredible diversity of soil organisms, from microscopic bacteria and fungi to larger invertebrates like millipedes, springtails, and earthworms. The relationship between redwood roots and soil fungi represents one of nature's most successful partnerships. Mycorrhizal fungi form intimate connections with redwood roots, creating hybrid structures called mycorrhiza, where fungal threads actually penetrate the root cells. These fungi dramatically extend the effective reach of the root system, sending out microscopic threads called hyphae that can explore volumes of soil far beyond where the physical roots can reach. Through this fungal partnership, redwoods gain access to nutrients and water from a much larger area than their roots could explore alone. The fungi are particularly skilled at extracting phosphorus, nitrogen, and other essential nutrients from organic matter in the soil, sharing these resources with their redwood partners in exchange for sugars and other carbon compounds that the trees produce through photosynthesis. But perhaps most remarkably, recent research has revealed that these fungal networks can connect multiple trees, creating what scientists call the wood wide web. Through these fungal connections, redwood trees can actually share resources with their neighbors. A large, mature tree with extensive leaf area and high photosynthetic capacity can send excess sugars through the fungal network to smaller trees growing in its shadow. In return, these smaller trees might share different nutrients or chemical compounds that they've acquired from their particular location in the forest. This resource sharing extends to water as well. During drought conditions, trees with access to deeper groundwater or more fog capture can share their water with neighbors through the connected root and fungal network. This mutual aid system helps ensure that entire groves can survive stress periods that might kill individual trees growing in isolation. The chemical communication that occurs through these underground networks is equally fascinating. When a redwood tree is attacked by insects or infected by disease, it can send chemical signals through its root system and the connected fungal networks to warn neighboring trees. These warning signals trigger the receiving trees to begin producing defensive compounds in their bark, needles, and sap, essentially allowing the forest to mount a coordinated defense against threats. The seasonal rhythms of the underground world follow patterns that have been established over thousands of years. During the winter months, when heavy rains saturate the forest floor, the root systems become incredibly active, rapidly absorbing water and nutrients from the rain-soaked soil. The mycorrhizal fungi also increase their activity during this time, taking advantage of the abundant moisture to extend their hyphal networks and form new connections between trees. As spring arrives and the soil begins to warm, the underground community comes alive with renewed vigor. New root growth begins, extending the network even further and creating new connection points between neighboring trees. The soil organisms that process organic matter increase their activity, breaking down the accumulated leaf litter and making nutrients available to the root systems. During the summer months, when surface conditions become drier, the underground network takes on its most crucial role. The extensive shallow root system captures every drop of fog drip, while the deep organic soil layers hold moisture like a vast sponge. The mycorrhizal fungi become even more important during this time, helping trees access water and nutrients from increasingly scarce sources. The longevity of individual redwood trees means that some root systems and their associated fungal networks may be thousands of years old. These ancient underground communities have developed incredibly sophisticated relationships, with some fungal partnerships persisting for centuries and passing through multiple generations of both trees and fungi. The accumulated wisdom of these long-lived systems creates stability and resilience that allows redwood forests to survive droughts, floods, fires, and other environmental challenges. Research has revealed that the soil beneath redwood forests contains some of the highest levels of stored carbon found in any terrestrial ecosystem. The slow decomposition rates in the cool, moist conditions mean that carbon from centuries-old trees remains locked in the soil, creating a massive reservoir that helps moderate global climate patterns. This underground carbon storage represents one of the redwood forest's most important contributions to planetary health. The root systems also play a crucial role in preventing erosion on the steep slopes where many redwood groves are found. The extensive network of interwoven roots holds soil in place during heavy winter rains, preventing landslides and maintaining the stability of entire watersheds. This erosion control protects not only the forest itself, but also the streams and rivers that flow through redwood country, maintaining clear water and stable habitat for salmon and other aquatic species. As we rest in the quiet embrace of this underground world, surrounded by the gentle hum of countless soil organisms and the slow, steady growth of root systems that connect tree to tree across the forest floor, we can appreciate the incredible complexity and cooperation that supports the towering giants above. The underground network reminds us that what we see above ground is only part of the story. Beneath our feet lies a world of mutual support, communication, and shared resources that makes the redwood forest one of nature's most successful communities. As dawn breaks gently through the misty redwood canopy, let's discover the remarkable community of animals that calls these ancient forests home. To truly appreciate the peaceful harmony of this ecosystem, we need to meet the diverse cast of creatures, from the tiniest banana slug to the mighty Roosevelt elk, that have evolved alongside these gentle giants and now serve as both inhabitants and guardians of this magical realm. The story of redwood forest wildlife begins with understanding how these animals have adapted to life in one of the world's most unique ecosystems. The cool, humid conditions created by the fog-shrouded canopy, the complex vertical structure that provides habitat from ground to sky, and the abundant moisture and nutrients create perfect conditions for an extraordinary diversity of life forms, many of which are found nowhere else on Earth. Perhaps no animal is more emblematic of the redwood forest's gentle character than the Pacific banana slug, California's official state mollusk. These remarkable creatures, which can grow up to 10 inches long and display beautiful variations of yellow, green, and brown coloration, play a crucial role in the forest ecosystem as nature's recyclers. As they glide slowly across the forest floor, their trail of protective mucus, banana slugs consume fallen leaves, fungi, dead plant material, and even animal droppings, breaking down organic matter and returning nutrients to the soil that feeds the towering trees above. The banana slug's life cycle is perfectly adapted to the redwood forest's rhythms. During the dry summer months, they seek out the moistest, shadiest spots beneath fallen logs and in dense fern patches, sometimes entering a state of dormancy to conserve water. When the winter rains arrive and the forest floor becomes saturated with moisture, they emerge to feed actively and reproduce, laying clusters of translucent eggs in hidden spots throughout the forest. Moving from the forest floor to the understory, we encounter the remarkable Pacific giant salamander, the largest terrestrial salamander in North America. These impressive amphibians, which can reach lengths of over a foot, are true indicators of forest health, as they require the clean, cold streams and consistently moist conditions that characterize old-growth redwood habitat. During their larval stage, they live in the clear streams that flow through redwood groves, feeding on aquatic insects and small fish. As adults, They emerge onto the forest floor where they hunt for insects, slugs, and even small mammals among the fern gardens and fallen logs. The Pacific giant salamander's skin must remain moist for breathing, making them completely dependent on the humid conditions created by the redwood canopy. Their presence in a forest is a sign of ecological health, as they cannot survive in areas where logging, development, or climate change has altered the delicate moisture balance that redwoods create. High above in the canopy, we find one of the redwood forest's most remarkable success stories, the marbled murrelet, a seabird that has formed one of nature's most unusual partnerships with these towering trees. These robin-sized birds spend their days fishing in the Pacific Ocean, diving beneath the waves to catch small fish and crustaceans. But when breeding season arrives, they perform one of the most remarkable commutes in the animal kingdom, flying inland through the coastal fog to reach their nesting sites on the massive branches of old-growth redwoods. The marbled murrelet's relationship with redwoods is so specific that they will only nest on branches that meet very particular criteria. They must be at least 6 inches in diameter, covered with a thick mat of moss and lichens, and located high enough in the canopy to provide protection from predators. The female lays a single large egg that both parents take turns incubating for about a month. When the chick hatches, it must grow and develop entirely on its aerial nest site, fed by parents who make twice-daily flights between the ocean and the forest canopy. The forest floor and understory provide habitat for larger mammals that have learned to thrive in the redwood ecosystem. Black-tailed deer move silently through the groves, browsing on ferns, huckleberries, and the young shoots of various understory plants. Their dark coloration and quiet movement make them perfectly adapted to the shadowy conditions beneath the canopy, and their browsing helps maintain the open understory that characterizes healthy redwood forests. But perhaps the most magnificent of all redwood forest inhabitants is the Roosevelt elk, massive animals that can weigh up to 1,000 pounds and stand 5 feet tall at the shoulder. These impressive creatures are ecosystem engineers, using their size and feeding habits to shape the forest environment in ways that benefit countless other species. Roosevelt elk prefer the open meadows and prairie edges that border redwood groves, but they regularly move through the forest itself, creating and maintaining trail systems that other animals use for travel corridors. During the fall rutting season, the haunting bugle calls of bull elk echo through the misty forest, a wild sound that has remained unchanged since the days when these forests were inhabited only by Native American peoples. The elk's grazing patterns help maintain the grasslands and oak woodlands that provide crucial habitat diversity within the larger redwood ecosystem, creating a mosaic of different plant communities that support different wildlife species. The streams that flow through redwood forests support their own specialized communities of animals. Coho salmon, also known as silver salmon, depend on the clear, cold water and stable temperatures that redwood forests provide to their associated watersheds. These remarkable fish spend most of their adult lives in the Pacific Ocean, but return to the streams of their birth to spawn, completing an incredible life cycle that has remained unchanged for thousands of years. The redwood forest's contribution to salmon habitat extends far beyond simply providing shade and temperature control for streams. The massive root systems prevent erosion that would silt up spawning gravels, while fallen redwood logs create the pools and cover that young salmon need to survive their first months of life. The insects that fall from the redwood canopy into forest streams provide crucial food for juvenile salmon, creating a direct connection between the health of the forest canopy and the success of salmon populations. Among the forest's smaller mammals, the Humboldt flying squirrel represents one of the most specialized adaptations to redwood habitat. These nocturnal gliders have evolved to take advantage of the complex three-dimensional structure of old-growth forests, using the gliding membranes stretched between their legs to move efficiently through the canopy without ever touching the ground. They feed primarily on fungi, lichens, and tree saps, and their droppings help spread fungal spores throughout the forest, contributing to the health of the mycorrhizal networks that support tree growth. The Sonoma tree vole, found only in the fog belt of Northern California and Southern Oregon, has become so specialized for life in redwood forests that it rarely, if ever, touches the ground. These small rodents build elaborate nest systems in the branches of Douglas firs and other trees within redwood groves, feeding almost exclusively on the needles of their host trees. Their entire life cycle takes place in the trees, and they obtain all their water from the fog and rain that condense on the vegetation around them. Bird life in redwood forests reflects both the unique conditions these ecosystems provide and their connections to larger regional habitats. The varied thrush, with its distinctive orange and black plumage and haunting single-note call, is closely associated with old-growth coniferous forests and finds ideal habitat in redwood groves. These birds forage for insects and small invertebrates among the ferns and fallen logs of the forest floor, and their ethereal calls add to the mystical quality of misty redwood mornings. Steller's jays, with their brilliant blue plumage and raucous calls, are among the most visible and vocal residents of redwood forests. These intelligent birds play important roles as seed dispersers, caching acorns and other nuts throughout the forest and helping to maintain the oak woodlands that provide habitat diversity within the larger redwood ecosystem. Their bold behavior and curious nature make them frequent companions for human visitors to the forest. The forest's predator community includes several species that depend on the abundant prey base that redwood forests support. Pacific fishes, members of the weasel family, are skilled climbers that hunt for squirrels, birds, and other small mammals throughout the forest's vertical layers. These elusive predators were nearly eliminated from California's forests due to trapping and habitat loss, but conservation efforts have helped restore populations in some redwood areas. Mountain lions, the forest's apex predator, move silently through redwood groves as they hunt for deer and elk. These powerful cats require large territories and connected habitat, making old-growth redwood forests crucial for their survival in the increasingly fragmented landscape of the Pacific coast. As evening settles over the forest and the fog begins to roll in from the Pacific, nocturnal species emerge to take advantage of the cool, humid conditions. Various species of bats hunt for insects among the trees, their echolocation calls adding a high-pitched soundtrack to the forest's evening chorus. Raccoons emerge from their daytime resting spots to forage for invertebrates, berries, and other foods along forest streams and in the rich organic layers of the forest floor. The northern spotted owl, perhaps the most famous of redwood forest inhabitants due to its role in forest conservation efforts, represents the intricate connections that bind old-growth forest ecosystems together. These medium-sized owls require large territories of mature forest habitat and depend on the complex structure and abundant prey base that only old-growth forests can provide. Their presence serves as an indicator of forest health and ecosystem integrity. As we rest peacefully in this community of giants and guardians, surrounded by the gentle sounds of nighttime forest activity, we can appreciate how each species plays its role in maintaining the delicate balance that allows redwood forests to thrive. From the smallest slug processing organic matter on the forest floor to the mighty elk-shaping habitat with their grazing. Every creature contributes to the intricate web of relationships that makes these forests one of Earth's most remarkable ecosystems. As we settle deeper into the peaceful embrace of the redwood forest, let's listen to how these ancient groves change their rhythm with the turning of the seasons, creating a gentle symphony that has played for thousands of years. To truly appreciate the timeless tranquility of this place, we need to understand how the forest breathes through its annual cycles, each season bringing its own gifts, challenges, and quiet miracles. The redwood forest's seasonal story begins with the arrival of winter storms that sweep in from the vast Pacific Ocean, bringing with them the life-giving rains that will sustain the forest through the year ahead. These Pacific weather systems, powered by moisture gathered during their journey across thousands of miles of ocean arrive with a gentleness that belies their importance. Unlike the violent thunderstorms of other climates, winter rains in redwood country fall steadily and softly, soaking deep into the forest floor and replenishing the groundwater that the shallow-rooted giants depend upon. During the winter months, from December through March, the forest transforms into a world of liquid music. Rain falls in a steady patter on the broad canopy above, then continues its journey earthward, dripping from needle to needle, branch to branch, creating a constant symphony of gentle percussion that varies in tempo and tone depending on the intensity of each storm. The forest floor, carpeted with centuries of accumulated organic matter, absorbs this moisture like an enormous sponge, storing it in the rich humus that will slowly release its treasure through the drier months ahead. The trees themselves respond to winter's arrival with subtle but important changes. The rapid growth that characterizes their summer months slows considerably, and they enter a period of relative dormancy that allows them to conserve energy and resources. However, this is far from a time of inactivity. Root systems become incredibly active during the winter months, taking advantage of the abundant soil moisture to extend their reach and strengthen the underground networks that connect tree to tree across the forest floor. Winter is also the season when the forest's wildlife communities undergo their own transformations. Many bird species that spend their summers in the mountains or inland valleys migrate to the milder conditions of the coastal redwood belt, swelling the forest's avian population with visitors seeking shelter from harsher weather elsewhere. Varied thrushes become more common during winter months, their haunting single-note calls echoing through the misty groves as they forage for insects and invertebrates among the rain-soaked ferns and fallen logs. The banana slugs, those gentle giants of the forest floor, emerge from their summer dormancy with enthusiasm, taking advantage of the abundant moisture to feed actively and reproduce. Winter is their most active season, when they can be seen gliding gracefully across the forest floor, processing the fallen leaves and organic matter that accumulate beneath the trees. Their bright yellow and green colors seem to glow against the rich browns and deep greens of the winter forest, adding spots of vibrant life to the subdued palette of the dormant season. Pacific giant salamanders also increase their activity during the winter months, emerging from their hiding places beneath logs and rocks to hunt for insects, slugs, and other invertebrates in the saturated conditions of the forest floor. The clear, cold streams that flow through redwood groves run full and fast during winter, providing ideal conditions for the aquatic larvae of these remarkable amphibians. As winter gradually gives way to spring, usually beginning in late March or early April, the forest awakens with a subtle but unmistakable shift in energy. The first signs of this awakening appear in the understory plants that have been patiently waiting through the dormant months. Redwood sorrel, that delicate carpet of heart-shaped leaves that covers much of the forest floor, begins to show new growth, unfurling fresh green leaves that seem to capture and concentrate the filtered light that penetrates the canopy above. Ferns throughout the forest respond to spring's arrival by sending up new fronds, their tightly coiled fiddleheads emerging from the rich soil and slowly unfurling into the intricate, lacy patterns that will capture light and produce food throughout the growing season. Sword ferns, lady ferns, and bracken ferns create layers of green texture throughout the understory, each species finding its preferred niche in terms of light exposure and moisture levels. The trees themselves begin their annual growth surge as spring temperatures gradually warm the forest air. New growth appears at the tips of branches throughout the canopy, with bright green needles that contrast beautifully with the darker, mature foliage from previous years. This new growth represents the forest's investment in the future, each needle a tiny solar panel that will capture sunlight and convert it into the energy needed to add another ring to the ancient trunks and extend the branches further into the sky. Spring is also the season when many of the forest's wildlife species begin their breeding cycles. Marbled murrelets arrive at their nesting sites in the canopy, having timed their breeding season to coincide with the period when fog will be most reliable for concealing their flights between ocean and forest. The courtship flights and calls of these remarkable seabirds add a new dimension to the forest's spring soundtrack. As pairs establish territories and begin the process of raising their single precious chick on branches hundreds of feet above the ground. Roosevelt elk emerge from the forest edges where they spent the winter months and begin to move more actively through their territories, taking advantage of the fresh green growth that appears in meadows and forest openings. Calves born in late spring or early summer will spend their first months learning to navigate the complex terrain of the forest floor, following established trails that have been used by elk for countless generations. As spring transitions into summer, typically by late June or early July, the forest enters perhaps its most distinctive season, the time of the Great Fog. This is when the unique relationship between ocean, atmosphere, and forest that defines the redwood ecosystem reaches its peak expression. The fog that rolls in from the Pacific Ocean with remarkable regularity creates a natural air conditioning system that keeps the forest cool and moist even as temperatures soar in the inland valleys just a few miles away. Summer mornings in the redwood forest are magical experiences that seem to exist outside of normal time. As the fog moves through the groves, it creates an otherworldly atmosphere where massive trunks disappear into gray mist and shafts of sunlight pierce through the vapor to create columns of golden light that shift and dance as the fog swirls and eddies around the ancient trees. The air becomes thick with moisture and the distinctive scent of redwood bark, ferns, and rich earth, creating an olfactory signature that is unmistakably redwood forest. During the summer fog season, the forest's daily rhythm becomes remarkably predictable. Morning fog typically extends several miles inland, shrouding the coastal groves in cool, humid conditions that allow the trees to capture precious moisture through their specialized needles. As the day progresses and inland temperatures rise, the fog gradually retreats toward the ocean, often leaving the forest clear and bright by afternoon. Then, as evening approaches and temperatures begin to drop, the fog rolls back in, beginning the cycle anew. This daily fog cycle creates perfect conditions for the forest's specialized plant and animal communities. Canopy gardens of ferns, huckleberries, and other plants thrive in the consistent moisture provided by fog condensation, while the cool, humid air reduces water stress on all vegetation throughout the forest. Many animals time their daily activities to take advantage of the fog cycle, being most active during the cool, moist morning and evening hours when the fog provides comfortable conditions. Summer is also the season when the forest's vertical complexity becomes most apparent. The contrast between the cool, moist conditions near the forest floor and the warmer, drier conditions in the upper canopy creates distinct microclimates that support different communities of plants and animals. Visitors moving through the forest during summer can actually feel these temperature and humidity gradients, experiencing the cool embrace of the understory and then stepping into warmer, drier conditions in forest openings where sunlight penetrates to the ground. As summer gradually gives way to autumn, the forest begins to prepare for another annual cycle. The changes are subtle at first, a gradual reduction in fog frequency, slightly cooler nighttime temperatures, and the first hints of color change in some of the forest's deciduous plants. Bigleaf maples scattered throughout the groves begin to show yellow and orange tones, while huckleberry bushes in the understory take on reddish hues that complement the rich greens of the coniferous canopy. Autumn is the season when many of the forest's animals begin their preparations for winter. Steller's jays become particularly active, caching acorns and other nuts throughout their territories in preparation for the leaner months ahead. Their raucous calls and busy activity add a sense of urgency to the forest's autumn atmosphere. A reminder that even in this mild coastal climate, seasonal changes bring both challenges and opportunities. For the redwood trees themselves, autumn represents a time of consolidation and preparation. The vigorous growth of spring and summer slows as the trees begin to harden their new growth and prepare for the storms and cooler temperatures that winter will bring. This is also the time when mature trees produce their cones and seeds, investing energy in reproduction and the continuation of their ancient lineage. The forest's streams and watersheds also respond to autumn's arrival. Summer's fog provides some moisture, but not enough to maintain the high water levels of winter and spring. Streams that ran full and fast during the rainy season become smaller and more intimate, creating perfect conditions for the salmon runs that represent one of the most dramatic wildlife spectacles in redwood country. As autumn deepens and the first winter storms begin to approach from the Pacific, the forest enters a period of quiet anticipation. The rains that will replenish the ecosystem and begin another annual cycle are still weeks away, but there's a sense of expectation in the air, a feeling that the great wheel of seasons is about to turn once again. Throughout all these seasonal changes, the ancient redwoods themselves remain as constants in an ever-changing world. Individual trees that have witnessed hundreds or even thousands of these seasonal cycles stand as living monuments to the enduring power of adaptation and resilience. Their seasonal responses are measured and deliberate, the result of countless years of fine-tuning their relationship with their environment. As we rest peacefully in this seasonal symphony, surrounded by the gentle sounds and scents that mark autumn's arrival in the forest, we can appreciate how the redwood's seasonal rhythms create a sense of timeless stability in a world of constant change. Each season brings its own gifts and challenges, but the ancient pattern continues, as reliable as the fog that rolls in from the sea, and as enduring as the giants that have learned to dance with the changing weather. As our peaceful journey through the redwood realm draws toward its gentle conclusion, let's pause among these ancient giants and listen to the whispers of wisdom they've accumulated through their extraordinary lifespans. To fully appreciate the profound tranquility that these trees offer our modern world, we need to understand what it means to live for centuries, witnessing the passage of generations while remaining rooted in one sacred spot. standing before a mature coast redwood, one that may have begun its life when European explorers first glimpsed these shores, we encounter a living witness to history that spans far beyond human memory. The oldest known coast redwoods are estimated to be over 3,200 years old, meaning they sprouted from seeds when the Roman Empire was at its height and have grown steadily through the rise and fall of civilizations, the coming of indigenous peoples to the Americas, the arrival of European settlers, and all the dramatic changes that have shaped our modern world. These ancient trees carry within their growth rings a detailed record of climatic conditions stretching back through the centuries. Scientists who study tree rings, called dendrochronologists, can read the story of wet years and dry years, warm periods and cool periods, all encoded in the varying widths of annual growth. Rings. A wide ring indicates a year of favorable growing conditions, with abundant moisture and moderate temperatures, while a narrow ring reveals a year of stress, perhaps drought or unusual cold that slowed the tree's growth. But the wisdom these trees offer goes far deeper than mere climate data. Each ancient redwood is a masterclass in resilience, having survived countless challenges that would have defeated lesser organisms. They have endured prolonged droughts that lasted for decades, floods that scoured their root systems, fires that burned through their groves, earthquakes that shook the very ground they stand on, and windstorms that felled their neighbors. Yet they continue to grow, to adapt, to thrive. The indigenous peoples of the Pacific coast recognized the profound wisdom of these ancient trees and developed deep spiritual and practical relationships with redwood forests that lasted for thousands of years. The Yurok, Hoopa, and other tribal nations saw the redwoods not as resources to be harvested, but as relatives to be respected, and partners in a sustainable way of life that could continue indefinitely without damaging the forest ecosystem. These indigenous relationships with redwood forests offer profound lessons about living in harmony with natural systems. Rather than viewing the forest as separate from human community, tribal peoples understood themselves as part of the forest ecosystem, with responsibilities as well as privileges that came from that relationship. They harvested redwood bark for clothing and shelter, but did so in ways that didn't harm the living trees. They used fallen logs for boats and buildings, but never cut living giants unless absolutely necessary. The spiritual traditions that developed around redwood forests recognized these groves as sacred spaces, where the boundary between the earthly and the divine became thin. The cathedral-like quality of mature redwood groves, with their towering columns disappearing into misty heights, and the filtered light that creates a sense of reverence and awe, naturally inspired contemplation and spiritual reflection. Many indigenous ceremonies were conducted in redwood groves, taking advantage of the natural acoustics and peaceful atmosphere that these forests provide. When European American settlers first encountered the redwood forests in the mid-1800s, they responded with a mixture of awe and acquisitiveness that would shape the forest's fate for the next century and a half. The sheer size and beauty of the trees inspired wonder and reverence, but their valuable timber and the profits that could be made from harvesting them often overcame initial feelings of respect and protection. The logging era that followed brought both destruction and, ultimately, conservation awareness to redwood forests. As groves that had stood for millennia fell to saws and axes, some people began to recognize that something irreplaceable was being lost. The Save the Redwoods League, founded in 1918, began the long process of protecting remaining old-growth forests, purchasing groves and establishing them as state and national parks. The conservation story of the Redwoods offers its own lessons in wisdom and persistence. Early conservationists like Madison Grant, John C. Merriam, and Henry Fairfield Osborn understood that some natural treasures are too precious to be reduced to mere economic commodities. They recognized that the ancient redwood groves represented values that transcended immediate profit: beauty, wonder, scientific importance, and spiritual significance that would benefit not just their own generation, but all future generations. The establishment of Prairie Creek Redwoods State Park, Humboldt Redwoods State Park, and eventually Redwood National and State Parks required decades of patient work, careful negotiation, and the gradual building of public support for forest protection. The process wasn't always smooth or successful. Many magnificent groves were lost during the long years it took to establish comprehensive protection for the remaining forests. But perhaps most remarkably, the redwoods themselves demonstrated their resilience and capacity for recovery even in the face of extensive damage. Cut stumps sprouted new growth, creating the fairy rings of trees that now characterize many second-growth areas. Damaged forests gradually healed, with new trees growing in the spaces left by their harvested ancestors. The forest's own recovery efforts showed that, given protection and time, these ecosystems could restore much of their former grandeur. Modern scientific study of redwood forests has revealed layers of complexity and interconnection that earlier generations could never have imagined. The discovery of canopy ecosystems, the understanding of fog harvesting adaptations, the recognition of underground fungal networks, and the documentation of the forest's role in global climate regulation have all contributed to a growing appreciation of redwood forests as among Earth's most sophisticated and important ecosystems. Climate change presents new challenges to redwood forests, but also demonstrates their potential importance as refugia for countless species and as carbon storage systems that can help moderate global warming. The ability of redwood forests to capture and store vast amounts of atmospheric carbon, both in their living biomass and in their soil systems, makes their protection not just a regional or national concern, but a global imperative. The research conducted in redwood forests has also revealed important lessons about the relationship between biodiversity and ecosystem stability. Old-growth redwood forests support hundreds of species of plants and animals, many of which are found nowhere else on Earth. This biodiversity isn't just a collection of interesting species. It's a complex web of relationships that makes the entire ecosystem more resilient and better able to adapt to environmental changes. Perhaps most importantly, spending time in ancient redwood groves provides modern people with a direct, visceral experience of deep time that is increasingly rare in our fast-paced world. Standing among trees that were alive when Jesus walked the earth, touching bark that has been growing for longer than any human institution has existed, breathing air that has been purified by these same leaves for centuries. These experiences provide a profound shift in perspective that can be deeply healing and transformative. The silence that characterizes mature redwood groves offers another gift to our modern world. In these forests, the constant noise of human civilization fades away, replaced by the gentle sounds of wind through branches, the drip of fog condensation, and the soft calls of forest birds. This natural quiet isn't empty or boring. It's full of subtle sounds and sensations that can only be appreciated when our attention isn't constantly pulled toward human-generated noise and activity. Many people report that time seems to move differently in redwood forests. The sense of hurry and urgency that characterizes much of modern life seems to dissolve among these ancient trees, replaced by a more measured, contemplative rhythm that mirrors the slow, steady growth of the giants themselves. This shift in temporal perception can be profoundly restful and restorative, offering a kind of healing that's difficult to find elsewhere. The Redwoods' example of persistence through adversity offers inspiration for human challenges as well. These trees have survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, droughts, floods, and countless other challenges through their long history. Their survival strategies, deep roots, flexible adaptation, mutual support, and patient persistence provide models for human resilience that are particularly relevant in our current era of rapid environmental and social change. As research continues to reveal new aspects of redwood forest ecology, these discoveries often point toward principles of cooperation, interdependence, and mutual support that challenge purely competitive models of natural selection. The way redwood trees share resources through their root networks, support each other structurally, and create conditions that benefit countless other species suggests that cooperation and mutual aid are just as important as competition in creating successful, sustainable ecosystems. The ongoing protection and restoration of redwood forests represents one of conservation's greatest success stories, but also demonstrates the long-term commitment required to preserve natural treasures for future generations. The work of protecting these forests has required the dedication of multiple generations of conservationists, scientists, land managers, and ordinary citizens who understood that some things are too precious to lose. As we prepare to leave this realm of ancient wisdom and return to the rhythms of our daily lives, we can carry with us the lessons these gentle giants have whispered to us through their patient presence. Their example of resilience, cooperation, and adaptation offers guidance for navigating our own challenges, while their gift of peace and perspective can help us find moments of tranquility even in the midst of our busy world. The ancient redwoods remind us that true wisdom comes not from rushing toward quick solutions, but from patient observation, careful adaptation, and the recognition that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. In their towering presence we find not just trees, but teachers whose lessons in sustainability, resilience, and interconnection are more relevant now than ever before. As our gentle journey through the realm of the ancient redwoods draws to its peaceful close, let yourself settle even more deeply into comfort, allowing the timeless wisdom and tranquil energy of these magnificent forests to wash over you like the softest fog drifting in from the Pacific Ocean. Throughout our time together tonight, we've traveled through deep time and discovered how these remarkable trees have journeyed from the age of dinosaurs to our modern world, adapting and thriving through millions of years of change. We've explored their ingenious partnership with coastal fog, learning how they harvest water directly from the air and create their own gentle weather systems. We've ascended into their sky-high canopy gardens and descended into their underground networks of mutual support and communication. We've met the diverse community of creatures that call these forests home, from the humble banana slug recycling nutrients on the forest floor to the magnificent Roosevelt elk shaping entire landscapes with their presence. We've listened to the seasonal symphonies that mark the passage of time in these groves, and we've reflected on the ancient wisdom that trees accumulate through lifespans measured in millennia rather than decades. Now, as we prepare to let these images and stories carry us into peaceful sleep, imagine yourself resting comfortably at the base of one of these ancient giants. Feel the soft cushion of centuries-old humus beneath you, a natural mattress created from countless generations of fallen needles, leaves, and organic matter. This forest floor cradles you with the accumulated softness of time itself, supporting you as gently as these trees have supported entire ecosystems for thousands of years. Above you, the massive trunk rises like a living cathedral column, its thick, fibrous bark protecting the slow heartbeat of growth rings that have been marking the passage of years since before recorded history began. Place your hand against this ancient bark and feel its warmth, its texture, its quiet strength. This tree has weathered storms that would terrify us, droughts that lasted decades, and countless seasons of change, yet here it stands, solid and peaceful, offering its presence as a gift of stability in an ever-changing world. Listen now to the gentle sounds that surround you in this forest sanctuary. The soft whisper of wind through branches high above creates nature's most soothing lullaby, a sound that has been unchanged for millennia. Somewhere in the distance, fog droplets condense and fall, creating the gentlest percussion as they drop from leaf to leaf, branch to branch, finally reaching the forest floor with the softest of sounds. This natural music has no beginning and no end. It simply is, eternal and comforting. Breathe in the distinctive scent of the redwood forest, the sweet, woody fragrance of ancient bark, the green freshness of ferns and moss, the rich earthiness of soil that has been enriched by centuries of patient decomposition. This is the breath of the forest itself, purified by countless leaves and needles, humidified by gentle fog, and scented with the essence of growth, renewal, and timeless peace. As you breathe this forest air, feel your own breathing naturally slowing and deepening, matching the unhurried rhythm of these ancient groves. There's no need to rush here, no deadlines to meet, no urgent demands for your attention. Time moves differently in the redwood forest, measured not in minutes or hours, but in the slow, steady accumulation of growth rings, the patient cycle of seasons, the gradual dance of fog and sunshine that has continued unchanged for thousands of years. Let your mind drift now, like morning mist through the forest, visiting once more the wonders we've discovered together. Perhaps you find yourself floating upward into the canopy, where gardens of ferns and huckleberries thrive on branches as wide as highways, where marbled murrelets tend their precious eggs in nests suspended between earth and sky. Here in this aerial world, salamanders never touch the ground, and streams flow through the air, defying gravity with the magic of adaptation and time. Or maybe your consciousness drifts downward into the rich world beneath the forest floor, where the roots of hundreds of trees interweave in networks of mutual support and communication. Here, fungal threads carry messages and nutrients between distant trees, and the wisdom of the forest flows through underground channels that connect every living thing in bonds of interdependence and care. Feel yourself becoming part of this ancient community, your own roots extending deep into the earth, your branches reaching toward the light, your leaves learning to capture moisture from the fog that drifts through your consciousness like the gentlest of dreams. You are supported by the network, connected to something larger than yourself, held in the embrace of an ecosystem that has learned the deepest secrets of sustainability and peace. The lessons of the redwood forest settle into your mind like fog settling into a valley. Gently, naturally, without force or hurry. Patience. These trees whisper to you. Resilience. Cooperation. The understanding that true strength comes not from standing alone, but from growing together, sharing resources, supporting one another through the storms and seasons of life. Feel the deep peace that comes from knowing your place in the larger web of existence, the comfort of belonging to something ancient and enduring. Like the Redwoods, you too can weather the storms of change by staying rooted in what matters most, by reaching toward the light while remaining grounded in the earth, by sharing your gifts while drawing strength from your community. As sleep begins to claim you, imagine the fog rolling in from the Pacific Ocean, that gentle, life-giving mist that has nourished these forests for millennia. This fog moves slowly and peacefully, carrying with it the essence of the vast ocean, the memory of distant storms, the promise of renewal and growth. It flows through the forest with purpose, but without haste, touching every leaf, every branch, every living thing with its gift of moisture and coolness. Let this fog flow through your consciousness now, cooling away the heat of worry, moistening the dry places in your spirit, bringing the deep refreshment that comes from connection with the natural world. Feel it settling around you like the softest blanket, wrapping you in the peace of the ancient forest, carrying you gently toward the restful shores of sleep. In your dreams tonight, you may find yourself walking once more along soft paths carpeted with fallen needles, surrounded by the towering presence of these gentle giants. You may hear the calls of hidden birds in the canopy above, or catch glimpses of deer moving silently through the understory, like shadows made of grace and peace. You may feel the soft touch of fog on your face, or discover streams of crystal-clear water flowing over moss-covered stones. These are healing dreams, dreams that connect you to something larger and more enduring than the temporary concerns of daily life. They remind you that you are part of an ancient story, a living member of the community of life that includes not just humans, but trees and birds and streams, fog and soil and sunlight, all woven together in a tapestry of relationship and mutual care. The redwood forest will continue its patient work tonight, and tomorrow, and for countless years to come. These trees will continue to grow, ring by ring, season by season, reaching ever taller toward the light while staying deeply rooted in the earth. They will continue to harvest fog from the air, to shelter the countless creatures that depend on them, to store carbon in their massive trunks and roots, helping to moderate our planet's climate with their quiet, persistent presence. And when you wake tomorrow, you can carry with you the peace and wisdom of this ancient forest. You can remember the lessons of patience and persistence, of cooperation and resilience that these gentle giants have taught through their example. You can breathe a little more deeply, move a little more slowly, and trust a little more fully in the enduring strength that comes from staying rooted in what matters most, while reaching toward the light of your own growth and becoming. The whispers of the redwoods will stay with you, soft and constant as the fog that nourishes them, reminding you that you too are part of something magnificent and eternal, something worth protecting and cherishing for generations yet to come. Rest now in this knowledge, sleep peacefully in this embrace, and let your dreams be filled with the gentle giants who have watched over this coast for thousands of years, and will continue to do so long after we have become part of the earth that nourishes their ancient roots. Sweet dreams, fellow traveler, and may the peace of the redwood forest stay with you always, a sanctuary of tranquility that you can visit whenever you need to remember what it feels like to be part of something larger, older, and more beautiful than words can ever fully express. Sleep well, surrounded by giants, cradled by time, and blessed by the eternal wisdom of the whispering pines.